everyone, it's Roisin Anson and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be how I got back into writing and work and stuff after such a long break. It's going to be a sit down video where I just explain the different stuff that I did to get back into the writing, the inspiration, that kind of thing. So the first thing I did was I went back into my document where my project was, and because I was almost near the end, I'd pretty much already plotted out the rest of my book. So what I did was, on Scrivener you've got the little postcards, like the index card type thing. So I fill those in with like a little sentence here about what I want the book to do, like what I want that chapter to do, sorry. So I fill those in about what I want the chapter to be about. So it's like a sentence or so, something like Alexa starts training with the team. So it's not big, like in depth or anything like that. It's just a sentence and then I write the chapter. So what I did to get back into writing this book, that I was like 60,000 or so, it was just over 60,000 words in. I was about 65,000 and I was still writing the book. I'd still got about another 20,000 words left to write. So what I did was I went back and read all of the little index cards that I'd written for Act 3. So I just went through and read them, and then I went back and I was halfway through a chapter when I finished. So I went back and read that chapter so I knew kind of where I was. And then I just carried on writing, kind of thing. That was how I got back into the story. I mean, the story is a bit of a modge podge because I did take that break, and I didn't want to reread all of the book because I know that that would take more time, and I wasn't planning on editing. I didn't want to edit. I wanted to get the rough draft done as fast as possible. So what I planned to do was I'm going to write all of the books, the rough drafts of the 5 books in the entire series. So I've finished book 1 that I've self-edited before I decided that I wanted to get all the rough drafts done. So book 1's been self-edited, so it's somewhat done, kind of. It's not done, but it's in a better shape than book 2 is. That I know without even looking and reading it. But I didn't want to reread all of the book and that kind of thing, because I know that I'd go back and edit it and I'd do random stuff. So I decided to just go back and read that chapter, kind of figure out where I was in the book, and then just carry on. And the book needs a lot of work. I've managed to forget about 3 characters. They just kind of completely went out of my head. I forgot that they're even in there. I know that they're in the rest of the book, but the last 5, the last part that I've finished, done, just, they're not mentioned because I completely forgot about them. So I've just put that in like a notes section in my Project Wolf #2 book, like my notebook for it. I've just wrote little notes, what I need to change, what I need to add, that kind of thing once I finish the book. And like I didn't even realise until yesterday that I completely forgot these characters. So I've got to go back and put those in, but I'm not too worried about that. Anything that I've written can be edited. So I just wanted to get all of the rough drafts done. So I've literally just done that. I've literally gone, read the chapter that I was on and finished the rest of the book. It's not perfect. It's not going to be the end result, but it's done. So I can carry on with the rest of the series. So if this was the last book and I took a big break on the last book, or if this was a standalone, I'd obviously go back and read it more because I'd want it to be as clean as possible. But because I know that these are just the rough drafts, they're just getting the story out so that I know the entire story, and then I can go back and completely edit it. I can throw in stuff at the end of book 5 that needs to go into book 1, that kind of thing. They're all gonna be, I'm finishing the entire series before I actually publish them. So because I'm doing it that way, I have the luxury of not having to have the cleanest draft. So if this isn't the way you operate or the way that you want to do your series, obviously it's a bit different for that, but this is the way I'm doing it, and I kind of know the story quite well, so I didn't really need to go back and do all of the story, even though I missed out 3 characters, like I said. I honestly don't know how I did it. One of the characters is like major, and I somehow managed to forget about him. And the other character, he's not in it as much, but he's like a big part of it. And like, I can't say anything more without spoiling it, but like, he was a big part of book 1, and somehow I've managed to just kind of, in book 2 it is mentioned at the beginning from what I can remember, and then not brought up again. Like, it baffles me how I've managed to forget about him. That's editing Roisin's problem. It's not me at the minute. Good luck to her. So yeah, that's the first thing I did. I went back over my notes and that sort of stuff. Another thing I did just to get inspiration was, I find it really inspiration, and I really like to get back into my book after watching like writing vlogs and writing challenges and that sort of stuff, and even like videos about writing, like how to plot and how to do this and how to do that, like anything like that. It gives me inspiration and ideas about my book. So before I even went back to looking over my book and stuff, I needed the inspiration back in to write. So that's what I was doing when I wasn't feeling very well and I just wanted to do something. So I started it when I wasn't feeling very well, and I just like write a little bit of a note of an idea that I thought of, or this and that. And then when I was feeling a little bit better, I went and like was watching more of them, and then I'd watch a video, and then whatever time the video was on, I'd go and write for that sprint. So if it was like a 20-minute video, I'd write for 20 minutes. If it was like an hour video, I'd do half an hour of watching and then half an hour of reading, writing, sorry, and then reading and watching. And does that make sense? I'd go between the two. So that's what gave me the inspiration again to write. And because I'd been off for so long, you kind of lose that creativity when you a lot of people say writing's a muscle. So if you're not using that muscle, it obviously shrinks down, and it's not as good as it was before. So I knew that I needed to get the inspiration back to work on that muscle, that type of thing. So that was one of the, probably the first thing really that I did, was to get my inspiration back about writing my book. Then I went and looked at all of my note cards to see where I was in the book, and then carried on with that. Does that make sense? So I needed to get the inspiration back. Another thing that I did was, I really enjoy live stream, like past live streams where they do the Pomodoro, where it's 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. So Sarah Cannon does a lot of those because that's her time blocking as well. She does 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. So when she does a live stream, usually that's the kind of thing that she does. And I've been watching her Twitch. She's been doing like reading, writing sprints, and then she did one where it was writing and gaming, and I really enjoyed that. I literally was able to watch, do some writing, and then I could have like, I think she did writing for an hour or 2 hours, and then gaming for an hour or 2 hours or something like that. And it really helped, like, so I could do some work, especially when I first came into the writing. I needed those bigger breaks, whereas now I can do 2 hours, like sprinting for 2 hours, and then have a bit of a break. When I first started getting back into it, it was really beneficial to have short sprints. So at the very beginning I did 10 minutes and then had a break and that kind of thing. But when I got back into it, having that time where I was doing some sprints, and then we were doing something else where I could have a long break and then sprints again and then a long break, it does help to get you back into writing more than if you just go back into what you were doing before. Because like I said, writing's a muscle, so you're not going to expect, if you've stopped going to the gym, you were doing like, I don't really know any gym kind of lingo, but like if you were doing like 40 pounds of like bicep curls or something, and you were doing 20 reps of those at 40 kilograms or something like that, and then you took a long break for like 6 months or whatever, you're not going to go back into the gym and be able to do that for 20 sets, 3 reps at 40 kilograms, are you? It's not possible. So you've got to slowly wean your way back into it. So that's what I did. I started with low sprint times where I did 10 minutes, had a break, 10 minutes, had a break. Then I built it up to like 15, 20, 25. And now I can do, like I said, 4 sets of 25, which is 2 hours. And then I can have a break, which it's just one of those things that you've got to slowly build your way back into, and it works. So you can't just expect yourself to be able to go back straight away. It doesn't work after you've been gone for so long. So yeah, that's what I've done. I think mostly for me, mine wasn't, I didn't lack the motivation to write. That was never my problem. My problem was I was unwell. I wasn't well enough to write. So I think it would be different if I had a lack of motivation to write. I think the tips would still work. I think doing low sprints, if you just sat down for 10 minutes to do a sprint and you got however many words, I think you'd think, oh, well, I'm already sat there, I might as well do some more. So I think some of the tips would work, but I think for me, mine was, I was so unwell that I couldn't actually get anything done. So it depends on your circumstances for the long break, I think. Another thing I did, which I used to do before anyway, is I keep my iPad and the keyboard that goes along with my iPad by my bed, so that I can just quickly jump on whenever I feel like it and I can get some work done. I do prefer to do sprints, but when I'm not feeling very well or I'm not really that, I just want to get something done, I don't really set a timer. I kind of just do whatever I feel like doing that day and then just stop. Even if that's, I just wanted to write this sentence that I thought of. If that was all I managed to do that day, that was it. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a bit of that kind of thing. So that's been my way of doing it before. I always kept my iPad and my keyboard by my bed, because if I wasn't feeling very well, I could just write in bed. But it's definitely beneficial after having a long break, because I was able to just sit there, and whenever I thought of something or I got inspired by like the movie or the YouTube video or whatever I was watching, I could just quickly type in what I wanted to, and then if that was all I got, that was all I got. But usually if I was just sat there and I felt inspired to do something, I just continue like writing it out, and then that'd be it. So usually I get like 100 to 500 words just sitting in my bed doing a little bit of writing while still watching whatever I was doing. It took longer, like that could have taken half an hour to do those words, probably about an hour or something, but it didn't feel like it was work. That's another thing that you could do. I found that when I'm not very well, my room kind of gets in disarray. So like when like people bring the washing up or something like that, if I'm not feeling very well, I don't put it away. So that's what happened this time. I'd got washing all over my desk and all over my chair and stuff. I found that one of the big things is I need to have a clean and tidy place. So that's one of the big things that I need. Obviously a lot of people need that. I can easily write in my bed, but I think I feel more productive when I write at my desk. So I usually try, and when I want to get back into writing, I want to try and create a writing routine and area. So I get to my desk, I try and get to my desk at a certain time and have it ready and clear and all ready to go. I try and have all of my equipment charged, ready, that sort of stuff, so I don't have any excuses not to get up and get that sorted out. Does that make sense? There's no reason that it's not like, oh, I can't write today, my iPad's not charged, or oh, I can't really write today, my desk is covered in stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just a job. It's just having all the jobs that you'd need to do done. So there's no excuse to say, oh, my desk is covered in clothes, I don't really feel like putting those away, so that's an extra thing on my jobs that I don't really want to do, so I'm not going to write today. Does that make sense? So I think if you've got the ability to have a desk and an area that's just yours for writing and that sort of stuff, that's the thing that you kind of need to set up, to have like a dedicated space that this is where I write. And it's not where you always have to write. Does that make sense? Like I said, I can write in my bed, and I will write in my bed. But I feel, like I said, if I go to my desk and sit in my desk and I've got everything set up, I feel like, yeah, this is a good time to write. And I actually write more, because that's where my brain is processed to do my writing. Does that make sense? So I'm not just... like I said, I do lie in my bed while watching TV and write. Does that make sense? But if you want to have focused writing time where you're productive and motivated to get work done, you need to set a schedule. I mean, for me, part of it's getting changed, getting into clothes, going to my desk, putting my lights on or whatever I need to do, because usually I go right there at night. So I put my lights on, I light a candle, I put up a stream, a past live stream, I have my dual monitors, I get it set up, I have my iPad there so I can track my sprints, and I set a timer and I go. Do you know what I mean? It's a routine that's set in place. I sit at my desk, I get all of my systems set up so it's ready. I have my laptop with the live stream here, I have my document on this screen, I have my iPad set up so it's on a stand ready with the Apple Pencil right next to it. I've got a drink, I've got a candle. Do you know what I mean? It's set up, it's in the same place, nobody else uses this desk, so it's all set up for me. I can do this. So I know that when I sit at my desk, I have about 5 minutes to get everything set up, and then I write. And you find that you don't, I want to say faff about, but that kind of thing, you don't mess about, you don't go on your phone, you don't do this, you don't do that, you literally sit at your desk and you get work done. So I think that's, if you're coming back from a long break, having a routine and out like a uniform and all these different stuff set up and ready, you're more likely to get work done than if you kind of went, I feel like writing today, I'm going to get on my bed, I'm going to do my laptop and I'm going to watch some TV. Like, that's okay, like on occasion. Like for me, I'm okay with doing that on occasion. It wouldn't be classed as a writing day. That's something that I'd do if I had a quick thought and I thought I need to get some work. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be what I class a writing day. If it's a writing day, I'm at my desk, I'm set up and I'm ready. Whereas when I'm like at my bed and I'm doing that kind of thing, that's, I've kind of got inspiration, or I just want to quickly get this thought down and that kind of thing. I won't, if I'm having a writing day and I want to get a writing session done, sit there with the TV on and write. I know some people can, I just can't. So if you're one of those people like me who you need focused writing time, it's going to have to be where you've set up a schedule, you've got all of your stuff ready and you're just getting work done. That's the best piece of advice that I can think of with getting work done. And like I said, even if you're doing a 10-minute sprint for three 10-minute sprints, that's 30 minutes of work that you've done, and it won't feel like it, because I know that when I do a 10-minute sprint, I'll start it and then I'll think, this is a bit too too hard, and then all of a sudden you'll go a couple of words and then go, oh, this can happen, do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's 10 minutes and you're like, oh, I got 200 words or I got 400 words. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that if you just set a timer and sit there, You're not just going to sit there for 10 minutes and just kind of stare at the screen, are you? You're going to actually attempt to get something done. If you've gone to the bother of setting a timer, I know it doesn't take long to set a timer, but do you know what I mean? If you've gone to the trouble of setting a timer, sitting at your desk and that kind of thing, you're going to get work done. Even if it's 300 words or 100 words, do you know what I mean? It's work. And if you're coming back from a break, any words on the page is good, do you know what I mean? It's better than not doing anything, which is what you've probably been, like, what would have probably happened. Like with me, I didn't get any work done for 6 months. 7 months actually, I think it was. So 7 months I got no work done. So any work that I put on the screen and put on into my book was such good. So at the beginning I wasn't that bothered that I was only doing 10 minutes. I think actually to begin with I did a 5-minute sprint, and that was all I did for that day, but I did it. And that's how you've got to slowly, step by step, get into it. You can't, like I said, expect to go from having a break. It doesn't matter how long the break is. Obviously, if it's like a weekend, it's a bit different. But even a week, you can't expect to be where you were before that week. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to be better than if you had 6 months off or 7 months like me. But you're still going to be slower getting back into it type thing. It's a process. You've just got to slowly go through it, and whatever work you get done and build it up, which is what I've been doing. Like you'd have seen in my last video, I did only get 1,000 words done that day, but I've got plans this weekend and next week to get a lot of writing work done. So that's why that 1,000 words is fine by me for that day, because I don't need to have the high scores, because I'm planning on having like big writing days later on this week and next week. So it's just a give and take. But getting back into it, you've got to be mindful that you haven't done any work for a long time. So getting any work done is better than you procrastinating and thinking it's been so long, or you'll think, oh, I need to do a new outline, I need to do this, I need to do that. And if that's your process, then that's your way of doing it. For me, if I procrastinated by outlining and rereading the book and doing all these things, it would have taken so much longer for me to get this book done. Because like I said, I'd have edited that entire book, and that book, I mean, this book needs so much work. I know it needs a lot of work. Like I said, there's missing characters. I've added stuff at the end of the book that I needed to add to the beginning of the book. There's like 3 or 4 different threads that are in book 1 that I haven't brought into book 2. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different stuff that this book needs quite a lot of edits done to it before it goes anywhere. But I didn't need it to be perfect. I needed it to be done. I just needed to get the end of the book sorted so I can get onto the next book, and then the next book, and then the next book. I am not planning on editing. So if I'd have gone through this book and reread it to get back into the story, like a lot of people suggest to you to go back and read the book that you've done, it would have worked for me, because I'd have spent ages editing it. And for me, edits are a lot harder for me to do. Rough draft for me is quite easy, and I think I do quite clean rough drafts. At least I did for book 1. Book 2 is like non-thingy, but do you know what I mean? The story's there, like the structure and the story's there. It's just, it's gonna need like a lot of prettying up and jazzing up, and it needs to get bigger. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot that I needed to do. So if I'd have gone back and done what people said and reread and outlined it more and did the different things, I would have been there for about, I finished this thing in this book in about 2 to 3 weeks. So from like start to finish, once I got back into writing, it was about 3 weeks. But like if I'd have been in my earlier days, like when I was doing NaNoWriMo and that sort of stuff, I could have finished this book within 5 to 6 days, but I wasn't, so it took longer. But it didn't take as long as going back through it all and doing all the stuff. That would have probably taken about 2 to 3 months. And that would have made me resistant to going back into writing, because I don't really like the editing process. I like the rough draft process. So it's just knowing how you are and finding what works for you. Like I said, if you have to do the outlining and like the colour codes and all that different stuff, then do it. If that gives you inspiration and doing it, just don't procrastinate the plan. Don't do so much of that you're not actually writing the book. Does that make sense? So those are my 4 tips. They're in different order because I was just throwing them out as I thought of them. First is replenishing your inspiration. So for me, that's watching YouTube videos about writing, that kind of thing. Reading books also. I find that reading books gives me inspiration. The second is getting a routine set and ready. Getting your writing space cleared and ready, and doing everything that you can to make writing as easy as possible. Literally, all you've got to do is focus on the writing. So I sit at my desk and I know all I've got to do is write. The third is, for me, going back over my notes and seeing where I left off and that kind of thing, and then just getting back into it. Third is sprints. I will always suggest writing in sprints. I find them really beneficial. Just having that focused time to work and then having a break is really beneficial for me. Loads of people find them beneficial, being able to focus on that thing, that one thing that you've got to do for that set amount of time, and then that's it, you stop and have a break. So yeah, that's my 4 tips on how to get back into writing after having an long break. I hope it's helpful. I'm sorry that the video is kind of a scattered mess. It was just I wanted to film this as quickly as possible to get it up and ready. Yep, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe. And the next video, I am pretty sure, is my first week or so of Project Wolf number 3, and how I got started in my new book. So yeah, this video, the videos are coming out a bit later than I wanted, so this video is coming out on Friday next week for me. So I think the video for Project Wolf number 3 comes out either next Tuesday or next Friday for you. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, like and subscribe if you want to keep up to date with this. And if you haven't already seen the previous video, that was a day in my life where I started Project Wolf number 3. That was my first day of working on the rough draft of Project Wolf number 3. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.